Well, DW articles Amaze, enjoy variance craze, and Baltimore tournament ablaze. I'm David Hood, and this is Deadline, DBN's monthly news program. Dateline January 2026. For our feature story, the North American Diplomacy Federation has been organizing play in the continent for decades. Later in the program, we will have our yearly check-in with the president of the North American Diplomacy Federation, Katie Gray, about how things are going, how things have gone, and how things are about to go in the world of North American diplomacy. But first, a look at headlines from around the world of diplomacy. January used to be a slow month for face-to-face action in the global diplomacy community. No longer. I'm coming to you right now from the tournament floor of the inaugural Blazecon in Baltimore, run by longtime face-to-face player David Miller.
I'm really excited for this weekend. My big message to everybody, we have some new players here, some people who never played face-to-face. Be nice to people, have a great time. The best awards are the ones that are funny, not the ones that are first, second, and third. And so, yeah, cheers to everybody, and I hope to enjoy Baltimore.
With 40 participants in its first year, this event has turned out to be a great addition to an already spectacular lineup for North American play in 2026, now featuring 10 different stops on the NADF Tour. This includes a new event coming this July in New York City called Mischief, as well as the stalwarts Cascadia later in January, TotalCon in Providence, which is in February, Whipping in San Francisco in March, DixieCon in Chapel Hill in May, Regatta, which is the host of this year's North American Championship, in late July in Denver, Boston Massacre in August, Weaselmoot in Chicago in early October, and Vermont's Carnage in later October. Whew. Not that the hobby's explosive growth is limited to North America by any means. As I record this, next weekend we'll see the debut of the UK's latest event, the Steel Showdown in Middlesbrough. As well next weekend is the 2026 Asia Pacific Championship slated for Bangkok, Thailand. The ways to find information about upcoming diplomacy face-to-face events are to visit the schedule page of the DBN website, as well as the World Diplomacy Reference website, links to both of which are provided below. Next, issue 172 of the hobby's flagship publication, Diplomacy Worlds, was released this month, and it is indeed a doozy. The first article in the zine by Brian Pravel may be the best of all. A report from the 2025 Dipcon, the North American Championship, held in Chicago with Brian and other Windy City Weasels as the organizers. Not only does he provide great insights on the event itself, his piece places the tournament in context of its time and place. His Chicago, at a moment of great fear and anxiety for its inhabitants. Well written and meaningful, so thanks to Brian. Congratulations to Andrew Wu for his Dipcon championship. Other highlights of this Diplomacy World include tremendous coverage of the Australian goings-on by Bismarck title winner Shane Armstrong, a pastiche of Gilbert and Sullivan's Modern Major General song by David E. Cohen with diplomacy lyrics, a dip crossword from Archie Duke, and a smashing interview with multiple tournament winner David Miller, who, as I mentioned, is hosting this Blazecon in Baltimore. All this and a letter column too. Check it out using the link provided in the show notes. Now, let's turn our attention to continental Europe, where the results from the 2025 play in Greece's Athens Diplomacy League have been announced. After 12 rounds and 18 boards played at the league venue, which is called the Crystal Lotus Play Cafe, Alex Medelis has been crowned the Athenian Diplomacy Champion for 2025. Second place went to Stratis Katakos, with third place by Yorgos Panzaris, with 36 different participants playing overall. League organizer Spiros Davos has been busy building that local hobby for its own sake, as well as in preparation for the 2026 World Dipcon, which will be hosted by them over the weekend of May 22nd through 24th in the nearby town of Serenida. For more information about the event, visit the event's website using the link provided below. Leaving the world of face-to-face for a moment, let's focus on the latest news from the world of online diplomacy. where we find Season 10 of Nexus Press Tournament is open now for registration. They're beginning waves of games February 14th, February 21st, and February 28th through the Nexus Discord server. In contrast to face-to-face or virtual face-to-face games, which are, live, Press Play is not live, but involves deadlines of 24 hours or more for each turn. If you're not aware, the Nexus Discord server is a place for league and tournament play in that press format, not only for classic diplomacy, like with the Season 10 tournament, which is about classic diplomacy, but also for gunboats and other variants. Primary organizer Keith Worstel runs what is certainly one of the hobby's premier tournaments, with this main event bringing a large crowd of players to the field and culminating in a top board, which will be covered move by move in great detail right here on DBN's show The Diplomats, starring Keith and his partner in crime, Ed Sullivan. In the show notes, we have provided the sign-up form for the main event, as well as a link to the Nexus Discord server for your convenience. Each month here on Deadline, we like to highlight the latest and greatest video, audio, or visual content from those whom we call our DBN media partners. Our Australian friends at the Diplomacy Games podcast have released their newest episode, number 141, featuring an interview with Alex Duffy about the most recent outcomes in the use of diplomacy as a means to improve artificial intelligence. Duffy discussed in detail the different diplomacy playing styles for the 7 different AI agents that have played the game, and promoted his idea of a competition between the different dipbots to see how they fare against each other. Secondly, the fine folks at the DiploStrats YouTube channel just finished their 2025 variant contest, and they've released a video announcing their top 3 choices. Winning the public vote was the variant 1650 A New World by Small Song. That's a 10-player submission set in early North America and featuring both European and Native American players. The other 2 top finishers were chosen by the co-hosts of the DiploStrats, that's Ezio and Captain Mean. These were Forgotten Realms Diplomacy by Willow Palachek and Star Diplomacy by Serenat. Check out the full video of the DiploStrats using the link provided below. We have, in fact, breaking news. We can now tell you and show you who the winner is for the inaugural Blazecon tournament in Baltimore. Rob O'Brien from Connecticut, known to the online world as Varmint, has beaten a field of 40 or so competitors, thus scoring his first face-to-face tournament victory to add to his win of the 2024 Nexus Press League. Randy Lawrence Hurt from North Carolina added another second place to his list of achievements, with Massachusetts player Ian Rudnick taking the 3rd position. Best Country Awards went to Mitch McConaughey, Tim Crosby, Keith Worstel, Rob O'Brien, Brian Ecton, Randy Lawrence Hurt, and to Ian Rudnick. Blazecon has secured its place in the North American tournament rotation with a very successful first outing. You can catch my interview with the tournament victor on the DBN coverage for Blazecon, scheduled to drop on YouTube by January 23rd. In other late-breaking news, the 7 Years' War top board was played the same weekend as Blazecon, with Frenchman Nicolas Taillet punching his return ticket to the season-ending DBNI by taking top honors in the Europe-based 7 Years' War Virtual League. He bested a field of over 115 other players. At that same time, on the same day, the top board of the Virtual Diplomacy Championship was played, the VDC, which saw Michael Bloom from the Netherlands dominate the game from beginning to end as France. And this was after she had played in that 7 Years' War final just a few hours earlier. Astounding is the only word for it. Katie Gray and Michalis Kamarites rounded out the top 3 finishers of this 69-player annual competition to crown the year's world champion for virtual face-to-face play. And the Virtual Diplomacy League also completed its top board earlier in January, with British player Bradley Grace taking top honors, Australian player Jamal Blakarli taking second, and Californian Justin Lohr coming in third. If you did not watch our DBN coverage of these events at the time of release, please navigate to our YouTube channel and enjoy. Speaking of virtual play, the 2026 season is already underway as the Snake Pick League, centered in Australia, began its first monthly outing of games that very same action-packed weekend of January 17 and 18. It was really quite a historic weekend in diplomacy history. This third season of the Pit will continue with game days on February 21st, 22nd, and March 28, 29th. 29th. The UK-based virtual league called the Tour of Britain will begin play on March 14th, with its second round to be played on April 18th. And then the US-based Virtual Diplomacy League starts its 2026 season in March as well, using the VWDC Discord server as its host site. The Tour of Britain also plays there, while the Snake Pit and the 7 Years' War use their own Discord servers. To find out how to join any, or preferably all, of these virtual face-to-face leagues for their 2026 seasons, please use the schedule page on the DBN website to find that information. Now, for our next segment, we offer a series of segments. Actually, this is the latest in the series of segments called My Favorite Things, where we interview a diplomacy hobbyist about things other than the actual play of the game, whether or not the topic relates to diplomacy at all. This month, we check in with Hal Schild about just how awesome it is to serve as the primary producer for this show, Deadline, and the amazing opportunity that gives him to work with somebody of my my caliber. Hal Schild, I have never gotten to interview you for Deadline, and so we're going to take care of this right now. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, David. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. We are here from Blazecon in Baltimore, where you have just completed your last game of the tournament. Let's start off by talking about Hal Schild, the man, the myth, the diplomacy player. Tell us what you do, how you do it, and how you got involved in the game.
Let's start with diplomacy. I'm old. I played last time.
We knew that.
I started in college in the 80s. I played a number of games in college, a little bit after graduation. And that was also kind of interesting since I worked with government and doing somewhat diplomacy things. It was kind of interesting. Then got married, moved up to New York City. My background is video production. Started working, editing music videos. Somehow or another, people thought I was talented. Next thing you know, I'm working with like Mariah Carey, Michael Jackson. Those projects take a long time, many hours, 90-hour weeks. Kids show up. There's no time for diplomacy. Dropped out of the sport, I'll call it. Picked it back up a little before COVID. And then when COVID hit and I was bored, I found VDL. And next thing you know, I've been back in the game. Now that I'm grandpa, don't have the kids. Wife gets tired of me occasionally, so getting out of the house is a good thing, helps the marriage, and here I am.
And we're glad you're here. And I'm also glad for you in terms of your career trajectory that you have stopped messing with those sort of low-level people in the entertainment world, and you're now the primary producer for my show here on DBN, Deadline. So tell us a little bit about what you do behind the scenes. Folks that watch DBN may be interested to know.
So, as we all know, David records his monthly script. David writes the script. He sends it to me. I go through the script. I figure out what the visuals are. When David mentions a certain tournament, I try to find visuals for it. And for any of you tournament directors out there or players, please send us images. If you're at a tournament, if you're planning a tournament, a logo, a picture of the hotel, anything that helps us visually makes the show stronger. I take David's files, apply the visuals, add some music, put it together. It's about a day to day and a half's worth of work compressed in about 3 or 4 day period, because we try to get it out at the end of each month and then launch into the world.
Yeah, it's actually a lot more work than I do. So, Hal, your contribution to the war effort is much appreciated.
I couldn't do it without you. I mean, you are the face. You don't want me as the face. That's for sure.
I think there's one thing we can all agree on, and that Hal Schild is almost always right about the statements that he makes in the interview. All right, well, let's talk about Blazecon. We've been here for the weekend playing Diplomacy. It's the first time they've done this tournament in Baltimore. Give us your impressions.
A great tournament. I'm very impressed. The amount of people that came, I was shocked. We had people fly in from California. One person was on a train, I believe, for 24 hours from Wisconsin. We've had people from Denver, people from Boston, North Carolina. It's really impressive to get around 40 people, is my guess, for a first-time tournament. It clearly shows that there's interest in the winter. I mean, frankly, people get cabin fever. It's a great time to have it. Baltimore is a low-cost destination that has a major airport, so the locale is great. BWI Airport, flights can be cheap if you plan ahead. The hotel is reasonable because who the hell wants to come to Baltimore in January? So room rates were great.
The answer is we do.
Yes, I do a lot of work with trade associations, and you'd be surprised how many conferences there are in the winter for that reason, because it's off season and you can suddenly get cheap rooms in Baltimore because who the hell wants to, no one's visiting it, there's no tourism. So it's been a great event. David Miller did a great job organizing it. And again, the gameplay has been top tier. We've had many former world champions or DBN or DBNI winners. It's been a great tournament.
Yeah, and the bonus was that we got to share the hotel this weekend with the University of North Carolina Tar Heel fencing team.
I did meet them this morning, and they're off to Johns Hopkins playing today.
Yes, they're going to smush Johns Hopkins, one would hope. But I thought it was interesting to have a bunch of people with pointy knives at a diplomacy tournament. They just weren't playing in the tournament.
It would have been interesting if they could have put on a demo for us. Maybe we sacrificed, could have been one of the processes here. Maybe next year we should think about that.
I'll have to do better coordination with the university athletics department next season.
Absolutely correct. Or maybe we need an opposing athletic department here. Maybe get Duke here or somebody else like that.
You're getting ready to lose your position as producer of the DBN deadline program. All right, Hal, let's talk just a minute about DBN. One of the things that you just mentioned is that during the pandemic, you got into VDL and one of the things that people did during the pandemic was to tune into the Diplomacy Broadcast Network, which of course was born during the pandemic. What do you think the importance of DBN has been to the diplomacy hobby?
Well, I think DBN has really raised the awareness of the hobby. As someone who was away from it for decades, and when I came back in, I was surprised at the amount of interest in the game. I would go on YouTube and you see the DBN videos and you're like, damn, like 12,000 people watch this video. I'm like, I didn't realize there were 11,999 other idiots like me who watch this stuff. And then you suddenly realize, like, wow, there's stuff across the globe. And there's now, probably on any given weekend, I'll say there's a tournament somewhere or a club doing something somewhere, and in multiple languages, and that'll be interesting at some point when the sport, when we get to the World Diplomacy Championships. At what point does it become bilingual, and what does that mean, and what can we do to encourage that, frankly, to make it more inclusive?
Yeah, one of the things that has been hard to do is incorporate the Francophone hobby. There's a pretty large hobby of people who speak French instead of English and play diplomacy, and it can be hard to sort of cross-pollinate between the two. But the tournament in Greece should really be a good test case. They'll be literally from all over the place, and it's going to be a great, gigantic event.
Right, absolutely. And I also think DBN plays a critical role in informing people, as does Deadline, of what to play when, where, and it keeps on pushing out the message, both visually and with content, on it's an inclusive sport. Do we call it a sport?
I don't know. Both, I think, would be the right answer.
Okay, both will say. Let's call it a sport hobby. And DBN does a great job of putting that out there. We have, I think, the hosts are top notch. It's always fun to listen to. The challenge with coming to a tournament, the biggest fear is that you then suddenly get ridiculed on live TV and DBN. I'm sure that will happen. Certainly, some of the games I were in. I'm sure there will be moments where people are WTF and calling people out.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute. Some people who are watching this have never been to a face-to-face tournament or have never played in a virtual tournament, for that matter, and they may be have some little trepidation for getting in there and not making the right move, and somebody will get mad at them or something. Tell us why they shouldn't listen to that little voice in their head.
So I was that person with that voice in my head. I said I was out for 40 years, go on to VDL. The cameras aren't on. You suddenly meet people virtually. In my 60s, I'm not some 20-year-old who's used to that. And suddenly they're like, hey, you should come to Dixie. And I like, okay. And next thing I know, I tell my wife I'm getting in a car with 4 or 5 people I don't know, going to some tournament in the dorm to some place, like who the hell knows what's going to happen here. My wife, as usual, thought I was crazy. I got in the car with Dave Molesky and others, and from there it's been great. And I will say this is a welcoming community, and I use that word community in today's context. No one is unwelcome. Everybody, every color, shape, size, orientation is here. For example, this weekend, there was somebody who was having some financial challenges, and we were online DMing each other on Discord. And I said, hey, I got an extra bed. I'd never met him in person, you know, and it's been fine and great. And I will say that's the kind of community this is. That's a great example. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but that happens a lot where you just go like, sure, here's a bed, here's a car. No one makes fun of you. Nobody derides your moves. And it's a great learning experience for those who don't have a lot of face-to-face experience, whether virtual or in person, because you can see what's happening after the game. You have the chat about what did I do wrong, what did I do right, what could we have done better. And a lot of first-time players, frankly, surprise you. This is not a slam dunk where you're like, oh, Hal's never played before, so I guess we'll roll over him, and suddenly like, oh, I guess we can't. And that makes you feel better, and it's a great community. It's great to see friends again. I caught David. I didn't know David 5 years ago, and now I consider David a friend, and there's many others that I can list that are just friends of mine. And we talk sometimes not about diplomacy, share stories about kids and life and whatever. And I would encourage everyone, if you've played the sport at some point in time, get onto VDL, get onto Backstabber. If you're not sure at first, play a few games of Gunboat just to remember the rules and just to get started, and then put yourself out there.
You know, you mentioned the word community several times, which I totally and fully support. One of the things that's important to know about a diplomacy event like this is we do lots of things other than play that actual game. You and I right now are getting ready to go play a game of Terraforming Mars together at a diplomacy tournament. So talk to us a little bit about what it's like to be in an event like this and not playing over the board right that minute.
So I'll even back up a step. So we arrived here Friday, mid-afternoon, late afternoon. Then about 35 people, I'll say, went out to dinner together. We had a very nice dinner locally. Walked over. Again, you start to meet people. You sit next to people. You start to chat. We came back Friday night. We played some board games. We started at 8 o'clock. I'm old. I went to bed by 11:30, but there were people still playing games. Get up the next morning, 9 o'clock on Saturday, first round. You start playing. People get eliminated. Obviously, there's five boards, I think, the first day. So then side games start. Terraforma, other board games that you've maybe glanced at and be like, wow, I wonder what this game's like. I hope I can play it. Now suddenly you're playing games with people, meeting them that way. And because it's not the pressure of a diplomacy game, it's actually more relaxing and a lot of fun. And there are, for Blazecon, one of my goals was to play Terraforma because I don't get a chance to play it except with people here. And it's frankly just a lot of fun to just play a board game.
It really is. All right. Well, I appreciate you being on the show. I'm going to give you a chance to give any final thoughts you have about DBN, about the hobby, about Blazecon, anything you want to say here right before we sign off.
I would say join in. It's a lot of fun. If you've ever played diplomacy somewhere in your life, pick it up again. If you play a lot, come to a tournament. I realize it's expensive. I was kidding people, half kidding, a couple of married guys, I'll say, that the hardest negotiations in a tournament actually are the several weeks before negotiating with your spouse to come for a weekend. That by far is harder than playing diplomacy. And like myself, I'll do 2 tournaments a year. And that there are other people obviously who do more. Some people are single, can do a lot, or younger. But for me, that's the right amount. And it doesn't matter how many tournaments you play a year. Find one in your general region, and if you have financial challenges, reach out. We can help. there should be no barriers to certainly VDL. And we have several people on VDL who I know are handicapped, mobility challenged. It's a great outlet for them because they suddenly now are in a community with dozens and dozens of people. I remember one game specifically, somebody was actually in a hospital receiving treatments for a period of time. And we were like, you sure this is okay? And he's like, it gets my mind off of what's happening to me, gives me something to do. If you're elderly and alone and don't have a chance to get a community, this is a great community to join.
I couldn't say it better myself. And if you are watching this program and you haven't been, or you have financial needs to go or other kind of needs to go, just put a little comment here on this video, and we'll get in touch with you. If you'll give us some contact information, we'll get in touch with you and help you get to where you're needing to go. All right, Hal, thanks for being on Deadline.
Thanks, buddy.
And now, as our feature presentation, every year about this time, we feature an interview with the then current president of the North American Diplomacy Federation to look back, to look now, and to look to the future of the hobby in this part of the world. Let's cut now to my discussion with the supreme leader herself, Katie Gray. Hello, Katie Gray, and welcome back to Deadline.
Thanks. Hi, David Hood. How are you?
I am great. So, Katie, we often check in at the beginning of a new calendar year to see how things are going within the North American Diplomacy Federation by talking to its current president. And that, Katie Gray, is you. So
Still
we're
me.
glad to have you on the show.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
All right. So first, let's start with, for those who are not familiar with what the NADF is or what it does, could you give us a little bit of a description?
Yeah, the North American Diplomacy Federation, as you said, is just an organization that works to, or the purpose of which is to sort of unite the hobby in North America. There are a lot of individual clubs and spaces where people play diplomacy, and it's a way to bring people together sort of under one ambiguous general organization. And we really aim to support the hobby, whether that be tournament directors with resources, players. One of the big projects from the past few years was Zach Moore, infamous Zach Moore. But he set up the code of conduct. So we have a process for handling any issues that may come up, which I think is a benefit to the players and the tournament directors. So we're really just, it sounds so cliche, right? But we're really just like trying to help the hobby and provide resources and support to people who want to play diplomacy.
And I believe this is, let me see. Well, how long have you been the president of the NADF? Is this the second year or third year? I'm trying to.
This is somehow it has only been 1 year.
1 year. So we're going into your second year, right?
Yes,
as
correct.
president. All right. Well, who else is involved in the organization on an official level?
We have a great board, Johnny Gillum of the Diplo Rats, and we've got Justin from the LA Legionnaires. Sorry, that didn't roll off my tongue, Justin. I'm sorry. Evan Wainwright and Matt Krill of the Denver Armada hobby. Matt just recently moved to Denver area in the summer. So
I don't think I knew that. He was from there.
I think I know he has family there, and he was living in Seattle. But he's now back part of the Armada, which is great for the Armada. They at least the past couple of years have been one of the clubs that really have taken off in membership. And I've already heard rumors that Krill's getting a bunch of his family members to come up to games and stuff. So it's great. Good for them.
I first met Matt Krill when I went to the Armada to play, to the regatta to play with the Armada people back in like 2001, because that's when he was still living. And Emmett Wainwright, who's now there, is one of our guys from North Carolina. That's where he came from. So
that's funny. I forgot that.
What a bunch of fun connection.
Yeah.
Well, and you said Justin Lohr is also on the board, right?
Yes. Who has started last year? I think was the first year started the entire LA Hobby Club. The entire club that I know about anyway. So that's been great. He's been doing a lot of good work over there too.
Absolutely. He could have done better in the VDL championship just recently. But Justin knows that. He doesn't need me to say that out loud. So I think I'll just keep that to myself.
He did win. He did win Tour of Britain, right? So
he did win the Tour of Britain. He won the regular season of VDL. I'm throwing shade for absolutely no reason on one of the best players in the hobby, and one of the best guys in the hobby for that matter.
He's great. And his cards. Okay, we could talk forever.
Yeah, yes, and the trading cards, which were, we need a second edition of the trading cards. And by the way, I'm sure Justin knows that. So
I'm sure people have been asking him.
Yeah, I don't have to say that out loud either. Oh, wait, I just did. Justin, get to work. All right. So as you look back on the year of 2025 in the diplomacy hobby, are there specific tournaments or events or things that happened that stand out to you, either because you were there as an attendee or because you are the president and know about it? I mean, in other words, what are the events of 2025 that you think are most important?
I mean, I think every tournament is amazing. I've never been to a tournament and been disappointed. All the organizers do an incredible job. It's usually very hard to pick favorites, but I think last year you have to just, give props to the team out in the Bay Area who hosted World Dipcon last April, I think, last spring. I don't remember the final count, but I think it was over 110 players, people from all over the world. It was really cool. It was the biggest diplomacy tournament that I've been a part of. And it was a lot of fun. It was really well organized. So props to Adam, Siobhan, and Alex for putting that together. It was great.
Oh gosh, I could not agree more. But easily one of the most successful World Dipcons of the last 10 years. And not just from numbers point of view. I mean, just the players that were there and the connections that were made and the cross-pollination that occurred. It had people from all over the place, as you said. It was really just an outstanding event.
Yeah, it was really cool. I was on some boards with some of the best players in the world, and I was on some boards with people who, this was their second or third diplomacy game, and neither of those situations was better than the other. Right. It was just a really great mix of people and a really fun way to play diplomacy.
There were a lot of relatively new players at that event, which was also true for the Dipcon in Chicago in October.
Yes.
I think I've forgotten exactly what the math was now, but it was something approaching half were relatively new to the hobby, which was also amazing.
Yeah, they had so many locals, so many people who were picking it up. And I had a great time playing with a lot of them too. And yeah, hopefully the the tryhards didn't come and scare them off.
Well, I doubt it. The ones that I played with, at least, or saw or watched them play, it looked like they were having a blast, just like we usually do at diplomacy tournaments. Yeah. Well, what do you think the overall theme of 2025 was? It wasn't just big numbers at tournaments. It was something else, wasn't it? Something about the growth of the hobby or the hobby maturing in some way. Because it seemed to me there was very little sort of bad behavior at tournaments that we used to have.
Yeah, I think a lot of the people, despite diplomacy players and their reputations, a lot of people in the hobby are just good people and they're welcoming. And yeah, so when you do get a tournament like Chicago where you have a lot of newer players, I make a joke about people being intimidating, but I really think it's a welcoming place. And I think I'm kind of foreshadowing some of the future things we're going to be talking about, but there is a lot of growth in the hobby. There's a lot, I'm pretty excited to see the new tournaments that are coming up, new players showing up at these things. Hopefully that will just continue into next year. And then, obviously it's not going to continue forever. There's ebbs and flows, but I do feel like we're on a point in the hobby where we're just getting more participation. And I think it's really exciting.
Yeah, let's segue to that topic because we do have a new tournament in Baltimore starting up just a couple of weeks from when you and I are taping this. And then there are local clubs. You've already mentioned the Legionnaires, but local clubs are sort of on the upswing throughout North America. To what do you ascribe that kind of growth and excitement?
I think most of the credit has to go to the organizers. David Miller, I don't know if he has participated in organizing a tournament before, but I think he was just like, I want to do this and bring people to my city and host people and sort of give back. And I think that's awesome. Similarly, we've got Johnny Gillum and Peter Cook. Peter. Johnny Miller and Peter Cook, who are putting on a Diplo Rats tournament in July. That'll also be their first tournament.
In New York City.
Yes, thank you. Which is awesome. It's kind of funny that, well, it's not funny. It just depends on where people can get space and where people live. But having a diplomacy tournament in New York City seems like such a big deal because it's New York. But I think a lot of it just goes down to the individual organizers and them seeing the support from the people who want to go, right? So they're not just putting on this event in a vacuum. They're seeing that people want to attend they're seeing people want to give back. I know that like Adam in particular, Silverman seemed really excited to go to. Isn't he going to David's? I thought he was saying something in the chat.
Blazecon?
I think so.
I can't remember exactly if Silverman has signed up for that, but there's already like 5 boards, and there's
a lot of boards. I could be misremembering the tournament. I just remember Adam being really excited to go to another tournament, and I just think it's one of those things where it's like you put your heart and soul into your tournament, and then you want to give back, and you want to experience that as a guest also, as less pressure, less to do, just go and have fun. And I think it's just like giving back to your community in a way that's a win-win for everybody.
That's totally true. I was telling somebody the other day that Baltimore has probably hosted more diplomacy tournaments than any other city in North America in the history of the hobby. It just hasn't done it recently. And to have a convention back in what I would call the DC area, because that's really where the player pool is pulled from, is from Northern Virginia, Maryland, and DC, one of the largest concentration of diplomacy players in the world. And having a tournament there to draw that local and to build up the local hobby there is really exciting. People have been talking about doing a tournament in New York City since I was started in the hobby, and it just hasn't happened because of the cost.
Yes,
and the other logistic reasons. But it's great that Peter and Johnny are going to get that moving.
Yeah, you have to find a venue, which I think is hard everywhere, and it's probably very hard in New York.
Well, it's true. Well, and that's I was getting ready to ask you about challenges, that might be facing our hobby in 2026. There's always a challenge, I think, about, making sure that we marry an area that should have an event or should have a club to the right organizer. It's not something we can top down do either from DBN or from your perch at the NADF. There's nothing we can do to make that happen. We just got to hope that it happens and support it when it does. Yeah,
exactly. I would say this community runs on, I don't know, I'm going to mess up the expression, but basically runs on the backbone of the people who run tournaments. I think it can be a thankless job. It can be exhausting. It can be a lot of work. I hope that it's rewarding because I hope people tell them how much fun they have at these tournaments. I certainly try to. But I do sometimes worry, I think this is probably what happened in DC area. Like the people who ran it just stopped running it. They had other things came up, and then the community there is gone. And that's going to happen. I mean, it's not the end of the world. I think one thing we have going for us is that, especially post-COVID, there's been a lot more cohesive sort of online organizing and not only playing online, but bringing together people online in a space where you can then reach out and meet new people. There's a new club in Houston.
Space City. Yep.
Yeah, Space City. So, and I only know about that because it's, advertisement on the Discord server. I think that there's a lot of, for all the faults of the internet, I think it's helping the diplomacy community quite a bit. So hopefully that can sort of counter those natural, organizers get tired. They want to sit out a year or, they have family stuff come up or whatever. I mean, this is just a hobby. It's just a game. It's nobody's job,
Well, a good example of that is in the UK where Gary Sturley was running the Tour of Britain. He needed to step away for a year or two. And so Bradley Gray stepped in. And Zachary Moore was running the VDL and he needed to step away and Isaac Jukes stepped in. But you're right that having what I would say a more integrated online organizing community than we've ever had, that has helped to solve problems like that. One thing that we didn't have back in the day was the virtual scene, which is yet another connective tissue between various people in various parts of the world, but also North America, to help get, sustain those connections. Another benefit to what we have going right now, right?
Yeah. And it also just helps bring new people to the hobby, even just as players, not from an organizing sense. But I mean, I'm only a part of this community because of virtual diplomacy. I think that could be said for a lot of people in sort of my generation, people who started playing in the past 5 or so years. A lot of people start on, maybe people start in various places, but then their introduction to the wider community is VDL or the virtual tournaments. And that's not just NADF, right? I mean, VDL is separate from NADF, but there's a lot of overlap certainly with the North American players. then there's people from all over the world playing it, and it's both a great sort of resource to get people involved in the hobby, and it's also just really cool to see.
It is cool. Well, another example would be Nexus, where people from various online sort of press games have connected with each other, and then they've connected to those of us in the wider community.
Yeah.
And that's been another thing that happened during the pandemic, which I think we're still benefiting from.
Yeah, I think I block out Nexus from my brain because it makes me sad that I don't play Extended Deadline anymore, but I just don't have the time. So I have to pretend it doesn't exist or I'll get sucked back in.
Well, I will let you stay in your willful amnesia then and move on to the next subject, which is we talked about challenges, opportunities for 2026. Anything that you think is out there that gives us, an opportunity for something new or an opportunity to improve something old?
I don't think anything specific past what we've kind of been talking about with new tournaments coming up and with being integrated with the virtual scene. I will say one of the things that the NADF has been thinking about last year and will continue to think about this year is resources for players and organizers, especially newer organizers. So Justin Lohr has done a really great job collecting, like cheat sheets, documents, like things, if you've played a couple games of Diplomacy and you really want to play like at your local game store, we want to have a way to make that easier for you. And I think, I don't know, like that might not be the kind of thing that leads to like it could be the kind of thing that leads to a whole new club, a whole new tournament in, I don't know, Atlanta, wherever. But even if it just makes it easier for people to play, with some friends or the local game club, I think that's a win for me anyway.
Absolutely. It's a win for the game.
Yeah.
And we're basically here to service the game and the hobby that surrounds it.
Yeah.
Well, if there were folk out here, watching this interview thinking, well, I'd sort of like to help with all the interesting, new and fun growth that we're having in this hobby. And maybe that person has technical skills, or maybe that person has organizational skills or communication skills. What would you say to that person about how to hook in and hook up and get involved?
Well, if you're watching this video, the comments are right below. we will see the comments. David will see the comments. Everybody at TBN will see the comments. I think if it's something that interests you and you'd like to be a part of, like David said, really any skill you have, even if you don't, I don't have any skills. I'm just here to like try to, support, put some time into it. And, I guess I would say I have a passion for the hobby, and that's my only real skill. And if that's you, then let us know. It's not just me and the board. It's, all the tournament directors and all the community around. So somebody will find some way for you to help. If you have ideas, like if David asked about what's an opportunity to do something new this year and you thought of something that I didn't say, like, let me know. Like, I'm open to having conversations and discussions about it. I'm not an organizer. I don't really do this like for a living. So if you have ideas, then share them.
Yeah. And the NADF, is not the be all end all anyway. We can send people in the right direction. If they want to write something, then we can send them to the Diplomacy Briefing or Diplomacy World, places that, are featuring the writing of hobby writers.
Great.
And conversely, though, there are things I think the NADF could directly help. If someone really does want to start a club, there used to be a club in Portland that has gone away. If people wanted to start a new club in Portland or Seattle, which also used to have a club,
Craig.
and actually I think Seattle might be back having a club now that I think about it. But trying to remember, there's a name already picked and they're working on it.
Yeah. Craig just moved to Portland. Maybe SkyCon will end up in Portland next year.
Well, somebody in this conversation may have already mentioned this to somebody else who moved to Portland, whose name is Bill Hackenbrack. So I'll see if anything comes of that. But anyway, Katie, I appreciate you being on the show. Any other thoughts you'd like to share with our audience from your position as the NADF president, or just from your position as somebody who loves the game of diplomacy?
I don't know. I kind of feel like a broken record. I always say the same thing. If you can make it to a tournament, please do so. If you are not aware of the online community and you want to play online, again, comments, people can point you to the Discord servers where that all happens. I really love this community and I really love this game. And there are a lot of people who feel the same way as I do and want to sort of bring you in and welcome you in. Spread the word, and I don't know, don't be scared.
Yeah, definitely don't be scared. But in order to make a few people more scared, I'm going to ask one final question, Katie, which is, where are we going to see you playing next?
Ooh,
some people don't necessarily want to hear the answer to that, but they're wrong because you're a pleasure to play with. So where would you like to play next, or where are you planning to play next, or do you know?
1 week from now, it may have already happened when you put out this episode, but the Virtual Diplomacy Championship is being hosted on the Discord server, and I'm planning to play at least a few rounds of that. And then, I traveled a lot for diplomacy 2 years ago. Last year I was planning a wedding. I barely traveled at all. And this year, I'm putting all my eggs in one basket. And I will be in Greece for the World Diplomacy Championships in Athens. I'm really excited. It's my first time traveling internationally to play diplomacy. We're going to make a vacation out of it. But that's my next plan. I haven't officially registered or anything, but I'm pretty sure I'll be there. And I don't think I have plans to go anywhere else, unfortunately, before then, just because that's a big trip. And
that's a big trip. Yeah,
it's going to take most of my resources, time and funds, etc., to be there. But I think Spiros is going to do a great job organizing. He's certainly making it seem like a lot of fun, and it is going to be a lot of fun. And I really hope to see people there. Right. Well, David, if you can't go to, I'll do it for you, David. If you can't go to Worlds and you want to travel, go to Dipcon. David Hood will be hosting, and it will be not Dipcon. I'm sorry, DixieCon, and David will do a great job.
Yes, that's the same weekend in May, but that's fine, and it's going to be great. And I am so looking forward to seeing the coverage and hearing the stories from the trip to Greece for WDC, which is going to be probably one of the major hobby events of the last several decades, from what I can tell. In a new location with Spiros is not only putting this on, he's been doing club games and ramping up the local hobby there in the Athens area. So just the whole thing is going to be awesome, and I'm so glad that you are going to be able to go.
Me too. I'm really excited. It was really iffy for a while, and in the past couple of weeks, it sort of materialized, and I'm really excited.
All right, breaking news, folks. David Ray is going to win the WDC, attend the WDC at Athens. Sorry, I didn't mean to spoil that part. But she is going to go play at the WDC in Athens, which is good news. And also, congratulations on your wedding, by the way.
Thank you.
All right, Katie, thanks as always for being on Deadline News, and thanks for all that you're doing for the hobby in your position with NEDF, and good luck at your next event.
Thanks. And thank you, David, for everything you do.
Sure. Thanks to all of you watching at home. We hope you have enjoyed this edition of Deadline. If you have ideas for features, news, or feedback of any kind, please feel free to send an email to info@diplobn.com, or you can drop me a line directly using davidhood@dixiecon.com. To review all of our broadcast offerings, visit our website, www.diplobn.com. This is David Hood signing off. I wish you brightness and bliss and, of course, Belgium.